Welcome to Contractor Cuts, where we cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing a successful contracting company.
Welcome back to the 100th episode of Contractor Cuts. My name is Clark Turner.
I'm Jared Flo.
Thank you for joining us again. So today is a big mile marker for us, hitting 100 episodes of this podcast.
Yep.
Been doing it for nearly 3 years.
Yeah, we still have things to talk about. It's amazing.
Yeah, we keep trying to quit and people keep listening, so we have to keep making these things for you guys. So no, it's been a lot of fun. And this podcast, we're taking a moment to kind of set aside and do it a little differently. To celebrate our 100th podcast, we are diving into 5 of old podcasts that we think should win some awards.
Yeah.
Not because they're amazing, but some from most underrated through most popular, and why we want to select these. If you're a new listener, we have 5 podcasts we think you should go back and listen to.
Yep.
But if you are an old listener and you've been listening for a while, some of these range all the way back to our 10th episode. Yeah, 2001.
Yeah.
So if you haven't gone that far back to listen, these might be good ones to circle.
You may have missed some good ones. Yeah.
Yep. And we're going to dive into them of why and kind of expound from that. Also, being our 100th episode, we wanted to do a giveaway.
Well, honestly, because we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't have gotten to 100 episodes if it wasn't for all the people listening and consuming our content. So we want to do a giveaway for this episode.
Absolutely. So we were thinking, what could we give away? What do people want? What do people need?
We thought about dates with us, and nobody wants
no
that.
takers. So what we are going to do is I know we are midsummer right now, but we are 6-7 months away from our annual retreat. And if you're a part of the coaching program, if you're an alliance, you come on the retreat. That's part of the package of what you're doing. But we also allow non-coaching clients to come on the retreats. It's a $6,000 ticket to come.
Yep.
And it's a 3-day. This year we are doing it in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yep.
We did in North Carolina the past few years, and this year we're switching up our location and content and some other things we're doing. So if you are interested, it's $6,000. We are giving away for one company. It could be up to 2 people in that company to come on the retreat, get 3 days with us. It's a small group of the people we coach and a few other people outside of that are like you coming on the retreat. If you're interested in putting your name in the hat, we're going to do a drawing. Please email us. You can email us at team@prostruct360.com. You can also go to our website, prostruct360.com, and go to contact us and send in that you want to be registered to win the $6,000 retreat giveaway. So just send us your name, your email, phone number, contact information. We're going to put it all in a hat at the end of the month, mix it up, and pick one person out of it, and we will contact you and let you know that you won.
Excited to see who that ends up being and get to meet them in person and spend some time looking at their business, assessing what they're doing, and help them make some strategic decisions of growth.
The retreat's really great because we look back the last 12 months. We say, this is what's broken. This is what hasn't worked well in the last 12 months in your company. Then we look at the next 12 months and we game plan the next 12 months for you and your company.
Well, in between that, we're looking at, okay, these things didn't work. Why are they not working? Are there some bottlenecks? Are there some strategic changes that you need to make in the way that you're operating to kind of solve that stuff and create some efficiency? And then we create goals and plans for the next 12 months to execute what you're working to change and build your company.
And the retreat's mid-January, so it's kind of past all of Christmas and New Year's and that stuff. It's a few weeks past that, but it's before you jump into the new year.
I could be wrong, but I think the dates are like the 13th to the 15th
I think that's
of
right.
January this year.
Right. So check it out. We love to have you there. We also we rent a pretty cool place right next to where we do the meetings, to where we kind of do parties in the evenings where you come back to our Airbnb and hang out, and we kind of just have some drinks and play some poker and just have fun. So it's a really cool bonding with all the other contractors as well as us and hanging out. So it's a whole lot of fun. If you're interested in putting your name in to get a free pass for you and your company,
shoot us an email about it.
Love to give it away. So that's what we're doing today. So let's dive into the 5 noteworthy episodes that we've chosen. What we are running through is from underrated to most popular and kind of everything in between. We've kind of given different episodes, different awards accordingly. So we're going to dive into that. Also, before I get started on that too, we announced last week we've got a 12-week boot camp that we're doing. If you're not ready,
our newest product.
That's right. If you're not ready for coaching, it's not really financially there for you, or hey, I'm just not quite ready for that.
Or you need a stair stepper into it.
Yep. Yeah. This is a 12-week. Every Friday, you get in on a Zoom. It's it's really a small group of contractors that you're going through the program with.
Yeah.
And it's super cheap comparatively to coaching and everything else. So it's really the foundational organization, how to spend your time, how to look at finances. And it's a really cool format that I'm pretty excited about, where it's every other week we switch the format. So on the even weeks, we do kind of bigger picture, how to grow your company, how to look at the business side, and then the odd weeks in between, we're looking at hands-on.
In the weeds, actionable.
You're sitting there, you pull up your software or your maybe your QuickBooks and looking at your numbers, and we kind of show you hands-on. This is how we get estimates written quicker. This is how you should be looking at these numbers. And the other weeks, you're looking at, okay, how do I organize my company? How do I build time for my own time management? It's a really cool format. I'm pretty excited about it, and I think it's going to really help you if you're looking to lay that foundation to grow to the next level.
Well, and I think this is kind of where all of our coaching programs start.
Yep.
Is with this kind of base foundational information, because it's the things that we've found over the years that are, to put it in construction terms, they're the footers.
Yeah.
Right. That I need these footers to be able to build on top of.
Yep.
Right. And so it's if you're stuck on the hamster wheel, if you're just trying to get to the next level, you haven't been able to grow your business. I think attending this is really going to give you some insight and some actionable items of how to kind of strengthen the foundation of your business so that you can actually start growing and building on top of what you've created.
Yep.
So I think it can be really incredibly helpful, and a good stair stepper to get into it. If financially you're not at the place where making a commitment to coaching makes sense for you right now, it's a great place to come in and get some of what you're trying to get to start building your company.
Absolutely. Go to ProShark360.com to learn more about that. You can go to the ProServe Alliance page there. You can sign straight up for it from that page, or you can contact us. Hop on a call with Jared. He'll talk to you about it, kind of give you more details. We'd love to chat with you, and if it's for you, great. If it's not for you, great. We're going to be here. We have kind of entry once a month to start the program.
Yep.
So it's something that gets started. We're about to launch in a few weeks, so go ahead and get signed up right now for it.
That's right.
All right.
The episodes.
Enough about that. Let's get to our episode. So the very first episode that we thought we'd highlight, we've awarded it the most underrated episode. This is from 2021, episode 12, from November 29th, 2021. Title of it is, Are You Working as a Contractor or Running a Contracting Company?
Yep.
Jared, why do you think that's an underrated episode?
I think that's an underrated episode because I think, honestly, this was early on and we were trying to figure out titles that made sense, right?
Yeah.
But I think that, a lot of guys read into that and they're like, whatever, I'm running a company, I'm doing, I'm out here trying to make money and it's fine. I'm just going and running, and that doesn't make sense. I'm running a company, right? But it's the distinction between you're running a company or am I building a business, right? And that's the big premise that we go through in that is there's a cap to a business or a company that you can build that's just you, right? And you're out there and your sole grind every day is just to go out, execute the work, and bring in money, and that's what you're doing, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but there's a level to it that you're going to have to get to of the business becomes necessary to be able to grow and to be able to sustain long term. You've got to have systems and processes that operate the business outside of you getting up every day and just grinding.
So, I think it's underrated also because it feels like there's not much of a difference. I'm a contractor, I'm running. What's it?
Correct.
It's not a big deal. But really why it's so underrated is if you listen to that episode, it's about purpose. Why am I waking up in the morning and what am I doing, and getting the mindset around the purpose of why I'm here. So, as a contractor, I'm just a contractor. My purpose is to make as much money today as I can. I want to make money this week. I want to get these jobs done. I got to find the next one. My purpose as just a contractor is collect cash. if I'm building a contracting company, my purpose is long term.
Right.
My purpose is not today and this week. That's important, but that's serving my end goal of having a company that I can retire, I can set up for my kids, I can set up to bring income in while I'm retired sitting at the beach, checking in once a month with that company. So the long-term plan is the mindset of why I'm working today.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where we kind of dive into it, where if you don't really listen to the episode or you just kind of had it on in the background, you might miss that part of it. I think that's part of the underrated, where it's like, I am a contractor. It's growing into a company. Yeah, I get it. So I think that's why, in my opinion, it's definitely underrated.
I think you're exactly right when you're talking about the distinction between the two. Is forecast, is forward thinking, is long term thinking, is creating something that's bigger than just me. Right. And I think it's, this episode helps you kind of think through that and start leaning towards a perspective of, okay, so I don't want to be doing this for the next 30, 40 years and hope that I have saved enough money, hope that I've worked hard enough, hope that I didn't make mistakes and, all this stuff. I want to actually forecast, here's where I want to go and here's what I want to build so that I can start actually building the business, which is something that becomes bigger than you, can operate more than you could do by yourself, and hopefully gets to a place that will sustain you when you need to retire or choose to retire.
And one of the biggest tenets of our coaching program is we have to build time into your schedule to work on the company. Part one. Part two is let us show you what you need to be working on during that time.
That's right.
Right. And so when you're building a company, that's going to be a cost that you're losing. That's an opportunity cost that I'm spending 4 hours this week working on building my processes, procedures, learning software, learning how to train someone new, learning how to duplicate myself. And I'm not getting paid for those 4 hours.
Right.
If I'm a contractor and I'm looking at money today, money this week, I'm going to go get to work. I don't need to spend time building that stuff. And I think that's the simplistic mindset that a lot of contractors we see have of, well, I don't have time to build that. Well, sure, today, this week, you're not going to, you might take an extra day to finish the job you're on because you've spent a couple hours a few days this week.
Right.
But in the long run, what you're building is duplicatable to growth. And a lot of times we see guys that don't believe in themselves that they can do that, right? And that's subconscious, but knowing that, hey, I've got these guys on my team to help me walk through those. All I got to do is follow this program and I'm going to start laying that foundation. That's where we start building that company.
That's funny, man. I was on a Zoom with one of my coaching clients yesterday, and he was telling me, he's like, honestly, at the very beginning of this thing, and for many years, I was a skeptic. Like I heard people talking about you can build the business and make it scalable and systemize it and all the stuff. And he said, I was a skeptic. This business needed to be hands-on. You just can't do that. It is a hands-on everyday grind, and you just do that for as long as you can. And the systemizing and making it grow and all that stuff is kind of a unicorn. It's a myth. And he was like, I've been in this for 6 months now, and I've literally seen the efficiency of creating systems happen and be executed in my business, and my mind's been changed. And he made that transition, which to be perfectly honest, I think making the transition of running a contracting business or building a contracting business, the move in that perspective is hard to make. Because a lot of times the day-to-day, it's urgency, right? I've got bills to pay. I've got guys that need money. I've got to be out and grinding. I don't have time to spend any effort that doesn't earn me cash today.
And it's a domino effect, positive or negative, right?
Correct.
If you don't do the right steps to not have fires popping up and be proactive, you don't have time now to work on the company, right? And so it's kind of, if fires are popping up every single day all around me, then I'm not going to be working on the company.
It's the insanity cycle, right? It's just to keep going around. One thing causes the other one to go bad and back and forth, right? So if you missed that episode, I think it's a one of our early adapter episodes. I think you might, if you missed it, go check it out. I think it could be really helpful of transitioning your perspective of what you're doing in your business.
Our second category of noteworthy episode.
Most controversial.
Our most controversial that we got the most. It's funny. It was polarizing, this episode, because we have a ton of people like, yes, this right here. Yes, yes, yes. And then we had a small portion of contractors that were spitting venom at us because they thought, really, I think, well, let's talk about the episode, then we'll get into it.
Yeah.
The title of the episode, it's episode 34 from May 2022. The title of the episode is Do Not Use Daily/Hourly Labor. It's talking about not paying hourly and daily labor as a contractor. Instead, we're doing a work order method with subcontractors and how to do that. And people were losing it, especially like on our TikTok and Instagram. That was a video I think we got over 1 million views on, in terms of the controversy with people arguing back and forth. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of comments on it because it was just arguments. And I think a lot of it was defensive subcontractors talking about, whoa, you're taking money.
I've worked for people like you. You're trying to take advantage of them, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and honestly, some of the TikTok clips and Instagram clips can be taken out of context probably a little bit, in terms of you got to understand the whole episode and why we're doing it this way and how it protects the subs. And really, the way that we push with saying no daily labor, no hourly labor, I want everyone on a work order system, is incentivizing for the guys that deserve it and decentivizing for the guys that don't deserve it.
That are just milking the system.
It makes the cream rise at the top. And so by doing it, and the main purpose of that episode is saying, listen, if I have a painter, or I have two painters, one's been doing this for 40 years, one's been doing this for 1 year. I've got a $5,000 budget to paint this house. If I hire them both daily, one guy's going to carry the whole load, and one guy's going to carry about 20% of the load, and they're both getting paid the exact same. Maybe the guy has been in it for a while is getting $50 extra per day more, whatever it is.
Right.
But they aren't equal, right? And they aren't paid their value. We're overpaying the guy who's got a year of experience and underpaying the guy with 40 years.
Right.
With a work order system, if I say, hey, I've got $5,000 to paint this house, we got just the basement we're painting, it's $5,000. The guy's been doing it for 40 years, has his crew locked in. They can get in and out of that house in a day and a half.
Super efficient. Yeah.
Right. The guy's been doing it for a year. It might take him 4 days, 5 days. They're both making $5,000. One guy's making $1,000 a day. Another guy's making $4,000 a day because his skills allowing him to get it done quicker with a higher quality. And if you've been doing it for a year, you can still have high quality, but we know it takes longer for that guy. He doesn't understand how to cut corners without sacrificing quality. So there's more punch out, there's more go back. And so what I want to do is pay the guys that deserve it the money they deserve, right? And the guys that don't, I want to coach them up and help them get there. But the work order system allows that, where I'm treating my subs well. But then also on top of that, it allows me to have full control of my dollars because I know I'm paying $5,000 and my sub has agreed to that price, whether it takes them a day or 5 days. That's what they agreed to on their own before they accept the job. And I know I'm charging the client $7,500. So I'm making $2,500 no matter what on this job. If I'm daily or hourly, I'm hoping that I guessed right.
You're not going to be under 25.
No.
Or you're not going to make more than 25, right?
Yeah.
You're probably going to be 2,000, 1,500, 1,800
because
by the end of it.
The 4 go back work jobs or 4 go back trips I'm paying each time for my guy because he's on salary or doing daily.
Which is not a thing that I can justify going back to my client and saying, hey, I need to charge you more because my guys took longer.
Hey, you're a little pickier than my last person, and so I'm having to repaint 3 walls, so I need more money for that. Well, no, I'm not paying you more money, right? So I think that's the controversial is where it feels like you're taking advantage of the crews, where in reality it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think for it not to be controversial, you have to understand the holistic view of what we were saying, and not just, like you said, some of the clips that we had out there. I remember one of them that I said, stop paying hourly because they get to the end of the day and they've got an hour left. And they'll turn around and go home and come back tomorrow and spend 3 or 4 hours finishing that one thing. Spend the extra hour and get it knocked out. Well, if they were on their own dime on a work order system, right? If I get it done today, I make all the money. If I stretch it into 3 days, it's now I've got 3 days and I'm still getting paid the same thing. And that's where people were like, see, you're taking advantage of them, whatever. And it was taken out of context and they didn't understand it. You know, one of the other things that I think about the system that, you know, the work order system on top of what you said is that, you know, we've found that there are 3 places of accountability that are necessary to have a successful contracting business. And that is accountability for your clients. That's clear understanding of expectations and a place of accountability. Accountability for you as the owner, as the person running the company. This is what I said I was going to do and how I'm going to operate. And then accountability for the work order for laborers. And so by having this system, I'm accountable to here's exactly what needs to happen, when it needs to happen, what needs to happen, and how much we're getting paid to do it. So there's levels of accountability all the way through it that help you have control over the thing, and you are able to dictate how things go versus another guy saying, well, I need another day, I need more money. And so you're not in charge of the money of the business, how long things take. You're at, you know, the disposal of your guys in the field.
Well,
right?
Along with that, we've seen when we've gone into companies that we shift from we've had companies with salary labor, we've had companies with daily labor.
Pretty much every one of them.
Yeah, and so when we go in and help them understand the shift, the unmeasurable money that they save is the babysitting. Right. Because if I hire Jared to work for me daily, right, I've got to make sure, hey, you need to get here. It's you're 3 minutes late. I need you to start working. Hey, you've been at lunch for over an hour, man. I need you to get back here to get lunch. Hey, it's 4:30 and you're already leaving. Hey, I need you to stay because I need to get as much out of you today as possible.
You're driving the urgency.
Yeah. And so I spend half of my time babysitting crews and labor because I need to make sure that they get it done.
Yeah.
When you switch over to this, it's like, hey, man, if you want to cut out and come back for 3 hours tomorrow, that's on you. But I got another job. You can start making another $1,000 tomorrow.
Right. And that's where the accountability comes in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. All right. So the next episode, best episode for newcomers. If you're just starting to listen to us, if you're trying to understand kind of a big picture of everything we preach, of what we are, this episode is the one to start with.
It's a hindsight is 2020 type of episode.
Yep. Episode 56. It was March 6th, 2023. So it was not too long ago. It was about halfway through if you're scrolling through all the podcasts.
Yeah.
Episode 56. The title of it is If I Could Start Over, Mistakes I'd Avoid Building a Contracting Company. And we thought this one was the best for newcomers because we've said this 100 times. We aren't gurus. Our entire program is because we've made all the mistakes. We've made every wrong decision and learned the hard way. And so our coaching program is let us show you why you think you should make this decision, but instead you should make this other decision. Right? I can either turn left or right. Well, we turned left. This is why it was a bad idea.
And this is what happened.
This is what happened. If you turn right, this is what happens.
Yeah.
Your choice as the company owner, but we suggest going right.
Yeah.
And what we've done is we laid out an episode of starting my company, base foundation of getting my company going. We took a couple left turns when we should have taken right turns.
Yeah.
And those affected us. I mean, through today, we're still paying off debts from 9 years ago that we took on that we shouldn't have, that we made bad decisions on. So there's a lot of juice in that one because it's like, oh, okay, let me understand the full capacity of getting a company started. In hindsight, if I was starting over today, I would do things totally different, and we kind of lay that out in that episode.
Yeah, it's an episode chock full of, hey, don't step here.
Yep.
Right. And as you're starting and developing a business, I think anybody, eventually the older you get in life, you get to the place where like, you know what, I would rather listen to other people and learn from them versus go out and just make all the mistakes myself.
Yep.
Everybody early on wants to be like, no, I'm not listening to anybody. I can do it myself. But eventually you get to the place like, yeah, that might be a cool thing to say I've done it by myself, but it cost me a lot of friggin' money.
Yeah.
And so, it's an episode that has a ton of information of us looking back and going, man, I wish that we had known what we knew now, back then.
Well, and bringing in coaching is not doing it yourself.
Correct.
You're still doing it yourself.
Yeah.
You've got a guidebook. You've got some instructions to read. You've got, I built my kids' bunk beds from wood. I still use YouTube to understand kind of how, some guidance. I still built the whole thing myself, but I had some help and guidance to where it didn't take me 4 years to build it by mistakes and understanding it, but instead I got it knocked out real quickly. So again, I think that's great in terms of it is a great place to say, hey, this is where we're starting. Go listen to this episode.
That's right.
All right. 4th of 5 episodes we want to highlight, most actionable episode. What that means is if you listen, we were thinking through it, if there was one episode that you can listen to, and if you implement what we say, it will immediately change your company.
Change immediately.
Right. Which episode would we suggest? And this is the one we selected. It is episode 10. Episode 10 back in November 2021.
Yep.
And that is how a 4% markup can double your profit.
Yep.
This is a very simple one, and it doesn't make sense if you're just reading the title of it. But if you listen to that episode and implement what we say in it, it is looking at your profitability and understanding your numbers. That's all this is. This is our finance episode of, hey, you might not have all of your numbers perfectly aligned and sorted in QuickBooks and set out. Let's look at profitability, and why we say 4%. To kind of go ahead and spill the beans as to what this means. 4% is the industry average for contractors in the United States, for residential remodelers in the United States. The 4% net
bottom line profit after everything's paid.
A lot of guys are like, well, I'm making 25% profit. Well, maybe you're marking your jobs up 25, but you've got 21% overhead. You've got your insurance, you've got your gas, you've got your rent, you're really making 4% on average in this industry. And so what we do in our coaching program is we want to get you to 8, 10, 12, 15%. And so what we're trying to get you to starting bottom line base, if you're making 4%, if you are the average contractor making 4% at the end of the year, if we can mark your jobs up 4%, we're going to 8%. We're doubling your end of the year profit. Because if I go from having a 25% profit on my jobs to 29% profit on my jobs, that doesn't increase my overhead. So that 4% is straight profit that I'm changing.
Well, and the interesting thing about that is, with 25 to 29%, most of that is not us coming in and saying, hey, you need to be marking your jobs up more. There are some times that we look at people, we look at what they're charging, and we're like, hey, you're not marking your jobs up enough. There's sometimes. But to be perfectly honest, that 4% increase comes from just looking at how things are ran, creating systems and processes around it that create efficiency, and that efficiency decreases the drip and loss of money at the end of jobs, at the beginning of jobs, the things that happen that you're like, all right, well, I don't want to lose reputation, so I'm just going to crap some money at it so I don't lose reputation, right? All of those things gain you that 4, 5, 6, 7% increase of your bottom line profit. So
there's 30 things we coach on that are all just little solving paper cuts along the way. I think that, like you were saying, one of the biggest falsehoods in what you're doing where you just lose money is when you don't build your estimate correctly and you don't include what needs to be included in it. You don't have the detail needed. And so I forgot the cleaning. I forgot the haul off. I didn't put a dumpster on there.
The daggum quarter round or shoe mold.
Yeah. And it's like, well, I did kind of write this to include that stuff. And I can't be like, hey, I know we're at the end of your job. I didn't charge you for hauling off this trash. The homeowner's like, no, you charged me for demoing it out, and that should be included in the demo. Right?
Well, and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of contractors that just do that. Like, I've got a $7,800 change order at the end of the job. Well, what's that for? All the stuff that I forgot to put in there.
Reputation's gone. You might get that money. Probably won't get most of it.
Because you're not going to get new jobs.
No, they're never going to refer you. So again, that's a small paper cut, but there's 30, 40, 50 of those that we cover throughout the coaching program of let's tighten this up, let's save this, let's increase you by 4%. The goal of year one is to get you to 8% profitability net at the end of the year. And if you don't know what your end of the year net is, or you think it's 20, 30%, you got to get your numbers tight and really understand that because that's the base of growing a company.
If you're doing $500,000 a year, right? That's $20,000 cash. Could you take a really nice vacation off of that? Could you increase your income by 10 grand a year, 15 grand a year? Right? And it doesn't cost you anything. It's just learning how to execute to be able to be focused on that bottom line percentage. But you have to understand your finances to get there. And that's what that episode goes through, which is why we said this is the most actionable one, that if you implement these things, you can immediately start seeing changes in the cash in your business.
Well, and we're pretty sensitive to promising stuff if you join. We're not a car salesman with our program because at the end of the day, it's up to you if this is successful or not. We can get, I've said this before, I can teach a horse to win the Kentucky Derby, but I can never teach a donkey to win the Kentucky Derby, right? And so it's on you to grow this.
Right.
We can teach you how to do it. Right. And so it's hard to promise that, but I don't think we've ever seen someone not increase at least 4% in our program. So if you're doing $1 million a year, that's $40,000. It's way more than what you're paying us for, right?
Well, I mean, the only ones that did not increase were the ones that came in thinking, "Oh, I'm just going to immediately start making extra money." Like, no, it requires work. The ones that have been incredibly successful under our coaching program are the ones that listen, and they don't verbatim take everything that we say and just apply it, but they listen and they're like, "Oh, that's great. I'm going to work on how I want to implement that business." But they put the work in and they do it and they follow it. And I've seen time and time and time again, people's revenue increases, people's reputation increases, and more importantly, I don't care how much revenue you do. The profit, the quality of life, the time you get back in your family, and you're making more money and you've got more time in your life. That's what our program, time and time again, with the people that are willing to walk through it and do what what the steps are. I see that over and over being successful.
The few people that it wasn't successful for, that we didn't complete the entirety of the program with, both those that I can think of wanted us to build their company. They didn't want us to coach and help them build their company and show them and teach them. They were like, "Okay, I hired y'all. I'm headed to the beach." And it's like, if that's you, we're pretty good at vetting people at this point, where we don't want that as a client of ours, because
I'm fine with that as a client of ours. You just got to give us ownership in your company.
I'll build your company if I can have it. So that's a really good episode in terms of actionable. If you want to go back, episode 10, November 2021, it talks about how to find that 4% and how to get there with it. All right, final award, our most popular episode, and this is a numbers thing. We can track all the numbers on the background. The most popular listened to, watched episode, if you combine
across the board, had the most interactions.
From our YouTube videos to all, not including our clips on social, but on all of the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all of the different platforms for podcasts that we're on.
And to be perfectly honest, it's not a surprise.
No, it's episode 76, December 2023. It's how to pay yourself as the owner, a strategic approach to financial management. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we all ask ourselves of, am I paying myself too much? Am I not paying myself enough? How much money can I pull where I don't hurt the company?
I'm not in this to be a nonprofit. How long do I have to go with a $20,000 paycheck till I can start paying myself good money?
If you haven't listened to that episode, it's a great one. I'm proud of that one for sure. So go back and listen to that one. But yeah, it's just diving into paying yourself as the owner of the company and how to strategically make that decision, and when to take what, and how to budget for growth versus, we talk a lot about, there's really two phases in a company where you're either collecting cash or you're growing, and it's hard to do both because it costs a lot of money to grow and you don't realize a lot of the costs involved in it. And so we kind of dive into some of those topics.
Well, we get into the weeds a little bit about, how do I pay myself? Right. What do I do? Do I just go to the bank and pull cash out? Like how do I make sure that I've got steady income? How do I take advantage of the profit that's happening in the business? Do I go, this month I made $10,000 in profit, so I'm going to take $10,000, and next month I made $2,000, so I'm going to take $2,000. Or how do you set up a specific way that I know I have regimented income coming in, but also take advantage of the profits that are happening in the company, and then what financial rails do I use? How do I categorize those things in QuickBooks? What do I use? What do I call those things? You know, when it comes to accounting and finances, like how do I set those things up? So, I think that's a question that people ask a lot when I talk to, you know, I do a fair amount of just consulting calls where people call in and say, hey, I'm interested. Would you mind asking me a question? And a bunch of them are like, how do I increase what I pay? How do I pay myself? What does that look like? And so I think that's a no-brainer for me why that one is our number one interacted with.
For sure.
Yeah.
So those are the 5 different categories we thought we wanted to highlight today. We also have a couple honorable mentions that aren't really podcasts. If you go back on our YouTube channel, we had 2 different series at the beginning that I thought were great and are well worth it, but because it was when we were getting started 3 years ago, they're kind of buried and not watched. But one's a series on how to hire, right? It's a 3-part series, I think on how to find employees, how to vet employees, how to hire, and how to onboard well. It's a really great series.
I mean, that's the one you did, so it's okay.
It's a handsome, debonair gentleman is on that video. And I love that one. The other one,
I think that one is, it's got so many good nuggets in it because we've said many times that we've made a bunch of mistakes over the years, but when it comes to hiring, that is a place that we've made a bunch of mistakes, and you go through in those 3 different videos and spell out systems, processes, a specific way of going about it, and a bunch of helpful hints to help you stack the deck in your favor of when you're hiring somebody.
It's exactly what I was about to say when stacking the deck is every hire is a gamble. When I'm hiring someone, I'm putting $30,000 on the table and pushing it in and saying, I'm all in with this money. And so what we want to do is not make it a 50-50 or an 80% chance of failure, 20% chance of success. How do we stack the odds for us? Now, there's still a gamble.
You're never going to be 100%.
I can follow everything that we have laid out. I can do everything perfectly, and the person just is good at putting on a good face for interviews and have the right people that are giving, you know, that I'm calling and touching base with that are vouching for him that they're not as good as I thought they were. All that being said, is if I can stack the deck, I'm going to win more than I lose. And so that's kind of the goal of that series.
Well, I'll throw another honorable mention in there based on what you just talked about, stacking the deck. Most people that we see realize that you know, hiring is difficult, and I want to stack the deck, and 100% guarantee if I hire my brother, my brother-in-law, my mom, my uncle, my dad, if I hire them, it's 100% guarantee because they're family. If that's your thought, if you've done that, if you're in that spot, go find our podcast about working with friends and family.
A few months ago, I think it's probably around episode 90, 92, 93.
There's nothing wrong with that. Just know what you're getting into.
It's literally when we talk to someone who's thinking about coaching with us, and we say, okay, what's your setup? Well, you know, my wife works with me. Okay, wait, pause. Listen to this episode before we go any further. It's a really good one. Working with hiring family and friends and that sort of thing. The last one is our second YouTube series, which is subcontractors that Mr. Jared did his the hiring subcontractors. What was that one covering?
Well, it's also a 3-part series, and it's the first part is how do I find them? What am I looking for? What, you know, when it comes to subcontractors, what am I trying to get and how do I find them? Right. Then it's the onboarding. How do I onboard them? What am I trying to achieve when I'm bringing them on board? Do I just show them up have them show up on a job site and start working and have them tell me what they want and how much money they want? Or what's the process and system around that of an onboarding process that sets up accountability, systems and processes, a subcontractor agreement, going through all of that to set them up for success and set yourself up for success. And then closing out with, how do I keep them? How do I maintain? If I find good guys, they're in high demand. Anybody can come around. They can find them at Home Depot. They can find them at some place, and they may try and recruit them or steal them out from underneath me. So how do I maintain them? What are some things that I can do to create loyalty within my guys that they want and desire to stay with me? And it goes through how do I pay them? What are some strategic things that I can do to kind of go above and beyond for them? Creating a system of developing them into better than when they showed up with you. through kind of helping them build their business. It's a bunch of different stuff. So 3-part series all the way through finding, onboarding, and maintaining.
It's great. Yeah, it's a fantastic series with a lot of
It
meat.
is fantastic.
The guy stutters some through it.
Is probably
he's
really
learning
true.
how to use a microphone.
Behind the scenes,
Yeah.
I think I think I probably did like 8 or 10 cuts of each one of the series.
Let me go again.
Yeah. That was early on where I thought that I needed to memorize what I needed to do, and my brain was falling apart trying to do that. But nonetheless, it turned out to be a really good series.
Well, 2 things in closing this out. One thing that I think I'd like to also mention is, it's funny when we talk to people who are interested in coaching or just learning or just want the software. They think we got a bank of salesmen that answer the phone.
Right.
If you call here or email us directly, you can talk directly to Jared or me.
Yeah.
If you're interested in learning about any of the coaching, any of the software, combination of the two, if you have a question and just need help with one thing, we started this company because we enjoy that, right?
Yep.
And so you can go to the Contact Us on our website and ask to talk to one of us, and we will call you directly.
Yep.
Jared or I will call you, give you our cell phone numbers. Let's have those conversations. For us, it's the long-term partnership with you guys. It's the I might be giving you some free advice today, and you're not ready for coaching, but in 2 years, if you're ready, let's do this. Let's build it. And so we're always here for you. For us, it's kind of a holistic view on coaching and growing you guys as contractors. So
yeah, I've actually that specific platform. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me recently, just different questions. Hey, how do I deal with this? What are your thoughts on this? And I'm glad. I love doing that.
Yeah.
Sit down on the phone 30, 45 minutes and just sit there and chat.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on, and I'm going to give you thoughts, advice, direction, kind of my experience.
Yeah. And we don't want to talk people into partnering with us.
Right.
For us, if it's a good fit for both sides, we're going to do it.
I could if I was trying to, but that's not what I'm trying to do.
There's only so much time in our day too.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of, hey, you should do this. What if we do this? What if we wheel and deal and get you in here, sucker? We got your money.
Yeah.
For us, it's if we can identify that you can grow your company and you are in a spot that we look at your numbers, we want to make sure you could afford coaching. Right? I don't want to put you under because you're spending too much. So for us, it is that conversation is not okay, what are y'all selling? It's more of like, let's vet each other, and if this is a great partnership, let's do it. If one side doesn't feel comfortable, no problem. It's great. We're good to continue on as separately. So for us, that's that. So that was the first thing I want to say. Also, Jared, it's been fun working with you. It's been a great 100 episodes.
Yeah.
It's been a great 3 years. We're excited about the next 100 episodes. At 200, we are going to retire.
That's right.
We'll see when we get there.
Yeah.
But we really appreciate it, everybody. This has been a great run for the first 3 years. We're going to keep going. But this has been really honorable to look back at these and really say thank you to you guys for listening. And
we'll work really hard to keep coming up with really good content and for future stuff. We really love the whole concept for us of this thing is that we want to be able to give away as much helpful advice with tangible things that you can do. And I hope that it seems like that's been the response from people that they really appreciate it, and we'll do our best to continue doing it that way.
Cool. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.